Hello, this is Amitha Balachandra. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the 6:30 p.m. show that I do every single day where we pick up one topic and talk to one person about that topic at length. So make sure that you ask your questions because the chat window is open right now. Use the super chat feature and ask us those questions. We'll take it up through the course of the conversation. Today, we're going to talk about adoption because November is Adoption Awareness Month and today is World Adoption Day. So, there couldn't be a better time to talk about adoption, the process in India, the benefits and the challenges of the process itself. Today, we're also going to talk about foster homes. We are going to talk about why fostering is an important step in the adoption process and the kind of things that parents who foster children go through as well mentally, and the fact that they have to let go of these children as well at some point when they get adopted. All of those things we're going to talk about, and to have that conversation with me, I have Sangeeta Rajesh Gala joining me right now. Sangeeta and her husband, for our viewers who are joining us, I must tell you, have fostered 15 children up till now and have also counseled over 240 families across the globe to help adopt children. Sangeeta, thank you so much for making time and speaking with us. I want to begin by asking you this. If you can, first of all, take us through the journey that you've had, over the last couple of years. In terms of fostering children, how I know that you have fostered 15 children so far, but how did you begin? And take us through the journey.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me. My name is Sangeeta Rajesh Gala. I'm 57 years old. My foster journey started before that. We had three children of our own, and we had decided we would like to adopt one child after the youngest one is little old enough. Unfortunately, the circumstances didn't work for us, and we got busy with not only the children but also ailing parents. In that process, 10 years just passed by, and by then we realized it was way too late to go for adoption because didn't want to have such a major gap between the children. uh, Even though the fostering part didn't work, the adoption part didn't work, mind in the mind there was always there that we want to do something. So obviously, all over world we hear a lot about fostering, which is very common. But unfortunately, in our country, fostering is not known to many. So I started researching and started finding more about it, and I came across vaguely some address where I heard that fostering is being taken care there. So one fine day, I decided to go visit. That's Family Services Center at Kolaba, and they warmly welcomed me, and they filled me up with the foster system, how it works in India. And I was totally overjoyed when I came back home because I couldn't wait to share this with my family that finally if we couldn't adopt we will be able to foster. So after talking to my family, I registered myself with the center, and the process is that they come home and do home study because they want to ensure that the environment is safe for the child. They take interview of everybody who is in the home, and after signing a couple of papers, we were all set. And later, after a month or so, we got a call from them that there is a baby girl about 2 months old. Would you like to foster? And we were overjoyed with that call, and we willingly said yes. And that is how our first baby came home
Hmm.
for fostering.
And
So,
yes,
sorry, yeah.
yes. And after that, you fostered 15 children. So, if you can tell us, they're of different age groups as well, and it's about taking care of the child first before the child gets adopted. But there are lots of things that go through as well in terms of letting go of the child. Have there been challenges?
there has been, in the sense that, you think that this is the 15th baby I have at home right now, and you
mm,
think that you get stronger as babies come and go, but it's never that easy. Every time we go through that same trauma, but behind the mind, that happiness is there, that they are getting adopted to a good family, and that is the forever home,
mm,
and they're going to be fine there. So when first baby came, we didn't anticipate the pain.
mm,
I'll be very frank, we didn't understand. And when it was time to let go, we did. After 2 months, we had to let go because she was adopted.
mm,
Uh, I cried buckets for 2 weeks. I mean, it was really, really very difficult, because you bring up that child like your own, 24/7. You're doing things. It was difficult, but then you go to this thinking process, that do you want to be selfish for your own emotions, or do you want to make a difference in somebody's life?
mm,
And that is what was the go getter. And bang, we continued doing that.
mm,
We got babies of various age groups, sometimes newborns. Like currently I am fostering this 15th baby girl. She came to me, she was just 2 days old, and she'll be with us till she gets adopted. I get different age groups babies. They vary, because sometimes they are at some other foster home, they have some problem, or it could be also that at a later stage they have found this abandoned baby. That
mm,
can also happen. And there was one case where one of the baby was found abandoned. It was, we think, was around 9.5 month old, and
mm,
it was quite late night. And as I told you, I had always kept our doors open for any emergency.
mm,
And this child was found by police abandoned, and then CWC, Child Welfare Center, uh,
mm,
handed over to Family Services Center, and they gave me a call if I could just take the babies in for the night.
mm.
And the baby was very traumatized and crying, and he had multiple wounds on his body and all. And whole night it was difficult for him, but end of the early morning, I saw he kind of little felt comfortable with me. We were awake the whole night, and then I requested the center if I could just take care and till his wounds are mend and all.
mm.
And with the help of the center, we got his minor surgery done and everything. And then by the time in a month and a half too, he was absolutely like a normal child. And then they placed him somewhere else.
For adoption. I also want to ask you this, and we talk about the adjustments the child has to make, because it's not just about the foster family, but also, once adopted, the adjustments they'll have to make in terms of what age group they are in. But I just want to go over some numbers, and I want to talk about the adoption process right now, because according to Central Adoption Resource Authority, or CARA as it's called, CARA Rules for Adoption, which is a nodal adoption authority, in 2010, over 5,693 children were adopted. But from 2010, cut back to 2018-19, that number has gone down to 3,374. In fact, the number of people who are registering for adoption are much higher. It's between 20 to 25,000. So take us through the waiting period, and why is there such a long waiting period? And is that one of the reasons that a lot of people are unhappy, or don't want to adopt, perhaps?
No, see, the waiting period is there. I understand that. That would be like the first baby which I fostered. She went to her parents in 11 months. They had to wait only 11 months. Over the period, the waiting has become little longer, and which I'm sure government is working on it to reduce the waiting period. But what I have seen is that lot of people, because could be the pressure from the family, or they go for IVFs and all also. So then all the options are over, and then they come back for adoption. You know. So definitely government needs to hopefully work on reduction. But The process of registering oneself for adoption is not that tedious. The reason I started spreading awareness for that also and helping parents across, there were a lot of myths going on that the process of paperwork goes forever, and all that. But most of the parents I've been helping out, less than 3 to 4 weeks, not only their documents are all submitted to Kara, but also the agency which does the home study, that report is also handed over to Kara, and
Hmm.
less than a month they are in the queue for adoption.
There are also reports that waiting period has in fact gone up during lockdown. Is that true in your experience? What have
Yes.
you seen?
Yes, it did go for a few months. Everything was quite slow.
Hmm.
I was fostering a baby boy who came to me as a 36-day-old, and because of the lockdown, things were very slow. So he was adopted. He stayed with us for 8 months. So he was 9 months little plus when he got adopted.
Hmm.
So now the system is back, gearing up again for
Hmm.
on time to get
Hmm.
adopted.
But that number is actually, quite vast, because if you look at the UNICEF data, it shows that nearly 25 million children are either abandoned or orphaned. But in India, you have just about between 20 to 25,000, parents sort of uh, wanting to adopt. So, have you seen that number perhaps increasing over the last couple of years?
Yeah, see, so when I started spreading awareness and helping parents, I saw that only those couples approached me who have, gone through IVF cycles and every other possible way, tried that, and then they approached me. Last 3 years, I'm seeing a lot of difference when I get calls of couples who already have a biological child and they want to adopt uh, a child, don't want to have their own. But
Hmm.
lately, in this 1 year, I'm seeing young couples calling up and saying that, you know what, we can make babies, we don't want to, we want to go for adoption. So that is a really positive side I am seeing with the new gen coming up.
Hmm. I also want to ask you this question. This is popping up in our chat window. I encourage our viewers to ask as many questions as possible. Rachana has asked this question. Similarly, another person has also asked this: how easy or difficult is it for single unmarried people to adopt?
Not at all. The boy which I was talking was with me in the lockdown. In fact, he has gone to a single father.
Hmm.
So the process is the same for a single parent. Only thing is that if a male wants to adopt, he can only adopt a male child, whereas a woman wants to adopt, she can get a choice of male or female gender. They can choose, but the process is absolutely same. I have met few single women who have already adopted, and I have met them because the center does keep a get together once a year where adoptive parents and prospect parents meet. We
Hmm.
share things, and we talk about all that.
Hmm.
So the number is increasing definitely.
Hmm.
Single parents are coming up. In fact, last few months, uh, quite a bit of single women have approached me for adoption, and I've started their process also.
Hmm. And also, is there a problem with adopting older children, for instance? And this is a report by the Print as of last year, which said that older children or children with special needs, for instance, get left behind. Is that something that you see as well if in your calls with people? Because you have counseled over 240 families to adopt. What are the apprehensions that the families mostly have in the calls that you get? And is this something that you see as well?
uh, about adopting a child with special needs.
Adopting a child, especially if it's an older child.
Older child, I think it's not that every time I get calls for older children, mostly they want a child which is between 0 to 2 years old.
Hmm.
But I do get once in a while calls for older child because they are little old and they know the waiting is also little less, and it's easier for them to adopt a little older child. I do talk and counsel them about not to worry about getting an older child at home, because I myself have seen at a center where for some reason the child was not adopted till she was 2.5 years old. And it was surprising to see that the child, once the child went to the adoptive home, got settled in less than a week. So I think children only understand the language of love, you know. If you
Okay.
are, it doesn't matter if the child is old, and they do get adjusted. And
But
obviously,
have you seen the adoption withdrawal much higher in older children? Because according to this report, at least out of 6,650 adopted children between 2017 and 19, 278 of them were returned actually back to Kara.
yeah, I mean, that could be the number, but
Yes.
whatever, I have seen with parents, sometimes it so happens that there is an unfortunate, like, for example, I had a couple who was much little older, and the child expired.
Hmm.
So then for that reason, they said that, okay, we want to go for uh, older child. And there is a criteria, in the sense the uh, couple's age cannot be more than 90. So if they have decided little late to go for adoption, then obviously they cannot adopt 0 to 2. They have to go with the little older child.
Hmm.
And special needs children in India, yes, I would say, little difficult. Kara has recently also started a different wing for that. That if anybody would be interested in adopting special needs children, the immediately adoption is possible.
Hmm.
But here I am not seeing that much change. But I did come across one family from USA who
Okay.
didn't mind having a child with little. This baby girl had a cleft lip,
Hmm.
and she said that's absolutely fine as long as I'm getting a baby, and I
Hmm.
want to do that. And Indian family, but they
Hmm.
did adopt. So yes, overseas, what you're saying is right, that moreover we see foreigners than Indian. But this case, though, was in USA, but they did adopt a child like this.
I also want you to take us through the process itself. Once the wait list is over, once the rights are given, adoption rights, there is something called as a home study assessment that also happens later. Tell us this: every prospective parent, for instance, needs to be physically fit to adopt a child. In fact, that certificate has to be given by a doctor. But what about mental health? Is that something that's assessed in the home study assessment?
See, there are questionnaires in the home study where they do require a lot of questions which are to be answered. Even a medical report is also being taken from the doctor, some medical reports. But that is done before you are in the queue. So I will brief you up with the process. So, for an instant, if somebody is looking for adoption, the first thing, they go online and they start filling the form where they have given a choice of gender, age group, and also they have to pick 3 states from where they would like to adopt a child. So Kara gives you three states. Of course, there is an open category of all over India too, where the waiting is less. But in that category, northeastern babies also come. So some parents are apprehensive about getting a baby who would look little different. But then I have seen couples who have come forward to do that also.
Hmm.
So once the documents which are needed is submitted to Kara, Kara gives an email to the parents that that's all done. Now from the list of the centers and orphanages, you need to contact and call them for home study, and that is where the center or orphanage will come home, spend a lot of time, and ask you a lot of questions. And there are some forms to be filled where all the details about the parents are given, whether it's medical reports or whatever needed. That is submitted by the center or the orphanage to Kara. Once that is approved, then the couple is in the queue. They do get a portal, so they can check in that portal where what number they are and how the number is progressing towards adoption.
I also want to take in a question from now one of our viewers. Live It Forever has asked this, and the query is this: what about singles fostering? What are the rules for that? Is the question.
No, nothing like that. They will allow if they are single parent, if they fit into the criteria of the home is secured, and everything else what they are looking for, in the sense that if the child has been properly taken care, if in emergency, will the child will be that single person will be able to handle uh, the trips for immunization to the doctors, or the child falls sick. So
Hmm,
that assessment is done
hmm.
before they can get a baby to foster. So it's not that they will not give you, but yes, it's up to the center to decide.
I also want to ask you this, and this is an article from the Indian Express, and we'll put that up on our screens. It's from December 2019, where Kara said that girl children are more adopted in India. I want to ask you this: what are the apprehensions of people who call you? Because you've said you've not only fostered 15 children, but also counseled many families in terms of adoption as well. What are the apprehensions that you get? Is there anything in terms of gender, color, caste, for instance? Are these apprehensions at all that you get from prospective parents?
Yes, I do get. I do get. Most of the couples have, if they have a biological child, then obviously they want. If they have a boy, then they want a girl. And there are many parents who are first timers, but they are okay with girls too. People think that in India they're only looking for boys, but it's not true. Girls are also equally adopted by the couples.
Hmm.
So uh, that is not a problem. Those children also go for adoption.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up by asking you this one question. What's your advice to prospective people who want to adopt in the future, who are thinking perhaps should I do it, should I not do it, or who are sitting on the fence, who are thinking, oh, the adoption process itself is so long, the wait list takes forever, and the process is punishment. What's your advice to people who are wondering what to do?
So, I always tell parents that you have already waited so long. You've done IVFs, you've gone through other things, trying your best. Because I am also seeing, the problem is also people are going for surrogacy also nowadays. So that part has also come in a picture. And IVF cycles, obviously, the couples do go through, want to go through that. But I feel that if you already waited and this little wait is there, I understand it can get frustrating at times. But government is working on it. I'm sure, the waiting period will get shorter. And, whenever it is really meant to happen, obviously the child will come. And, these parents who I have seen started, in their journey. Now, when they call me up and they share pictures with their adoptive babies, they tell me that, you are so right. That period looked very long, but it really wasn't. And all has been forgotten, because look at this bundle of joy in our hands. And
Hmm.
coming to that other point, also, you were saying that when couples do mention about caste, creed, and all. So I have only one answer, one reply to them, that it doesn't matter from which caste, creed the child is coming. It all depends upon what kind of bringing up you're going to do. This is your child. It all depends on what care and bringing up you will do. The child is going to be the way you want it.
Hmm.
So not to think like that. Sometimes the couple is okay, but then grandparents have a little issues. Then I sit and counsel them also,
Hmm.
and I
And
explain to
plus,
them.
yes, and plus you're giving the child a beautiful home as well. So no matter what the weight is, it's always a good idea to adopt. Sangeeta, thank you so much for taking time and speaking to us. For viewers who are watching, thank you so much for
Thank you
watching.
so much. God bless you. Thank you.